Hello, I'm Cindy Ehrenberg-Seltzer, President and CEO of the Children's Services Council of Broward County. Welcome to another edition of Future First, Focus on Broward's Children. The birth of a baby is typically a most exciting time in a parent's life. In some instances, though, as the child grows, family and healthcare providers may have concerns about the pace of the infant or toddler's development. If, after an initial assessment, these concerns are founded, the child may be eligible and in need of early intervention services. At this time, it's also important to develop a plan to ensure a smooth transition from early intervention services into preschool and beyond. In Broward County, a number of agencies work together to ensure that children with developmental delays have full access to the supports that they need for successful transition into preschool programs. They are dedicated to ensuring that the parents and families of these children are aware of these available programs, know where to turn should they have concerns, and know what questions to ask to ensure that their children are getting what they need to be successful. Here to talk about early intervention and transition support are Ellie Schrott, Director of Broward County's Early Steps Program at the Children's Diagnostic and Treatment Center, Lee Tirpak, Chief Program Officer with the Early Learning Coalition of Broward County, and Donna McCann, Supervisor of Exceptional Student Education, also known as ESE, Broward County Public Schools. Shortly, we'll also hear from Audrey Evans, a Family Resource Specialist at the Children's Diagnostic and Treatment Center Early Steps Program, who also happens to be a parent and a foster parent of children who have taken advantage of early intervention. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. This topic is something that some families out there are afraid to even face. And so the reason I felt so strongly about having this program today is to demystify that so that they can feel comfortable understanding there's no shame, it's not scary, it's a good thing to do for your child. And so I want to start from birth, Ellie, because some of these challenges may be seen right from birth. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, thank you, Cindy. I actually brought a story that I got recently from a family, and I was so touched by it. The mom titled it Our Miracle Story. And it's the story of her child born at 24 weeks. So that is what we consider a micro-preemie, a little over 1 pound. They didn't even get to hold the baby until he was 3 weeks old. That's how tiny he was. He had lots and lots of complications. Every day was a new problem, a new concern with the baby, a roller coaster ride, really, because they didn't even know if the baby would survive. But the mom says the roller coaster ride led to constant thoughts of fear as we recalled the doctors mentioning a strong chance of physical and developmental delays. Have you heard of the Early Steps program? This reference became our ticket of hope. We partnered with a team of individuals who readily targeted an intervention plan of action for our child. We are blessed with a team of angels. Our coordinator at Children's Diagnostic and Treatment Center, Early Steps, provided a superb support and partnering team of therapists, physical therapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapists, who showed compassion and a passion to help our son reach his milestones. They placed his goals as their top priority, and they gave us, the parents, a sense of partnership, allowing us full participation in the therapy sessions and kept us encouraged of his receiving the very best possible services. The results were remarkable. I actually have a picture of this little baby at 3 weeks, about this big.
Oh my God.
And now I have a picture of him at 3 years old. Today, he's an energetic, smart, and adventurous little boy who models the results of impeccable therapy intervention. Words are not sufficient to express our gratitude for the seamless support received from the Early Steps program. This is really what early intervention is about, getting the supports to the children at the right time and really being family-centered in how we support the family in their everyday routines and activities so the child can make the very best progress.
That gave me chills. Whenever I talk to you about these, it just gets to me. So explain for those who don't know, early steps. I mean, you've talked about what it can mean to a family. But what is it? As a, it's a federal program.
It is a federal program. It's actually the downward extension of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. We serve the children from birth until their 3rd birthday. And this is a statewide program. It's actually administered from the Department of Health in Tallahassee, Children's Medical Services. As a federal entitlement program, the beauty of it is there's no income criteria and there's no out-of-pocket expenses for families. So anyone and everyone can access these services, and we do an evaluation to make sure children meet the qualifications, the intake eligibility criteria, and then develop a team around the needs of that specific child and what the family wants to start working on. So it's a win-win situation for the family to engage with early steps. And I get so many wonderful family stories, just like this one, where families are so encouraged and happy because they have such good results. And it's a win-win.
So one of the ways that families get to you is because the doctor says you need to do that.
Yes.
And certainly a micro-preemie like the one you talked about, there would be no doubt that this child needs extra supports.
Correct.
How well, we're going to talk to Lee, because another way that they get to you is through preschool. And once they actually get in that door, what happens?
Every child in childcare in Broward County has the opportunity to have what's called a developmental screening. We use a tool here in Broward called Ages and Stages Questionnaire, which is actually a parent questionnaire. And we have been working very closely with providers over the last couple of years to be sure to engage the parents in the completion of that questionnaire. And the questionnaire is looking at how the child learns, how they move, whether they sleep or not, for younger children, what the toilet training situations are, and just how active the child is, what their behavior is, and really looking at the whole child to see what the development is. And we encourage families to really go through these screenings to see the joys of how their children are growing and developing, and to see if there's any concerns so that we can act early. Acting early is such an important part of the whole child's development, so that if there are any concerns early on, early intervention can take place.
Does the provider help the parent? Because some parents are not going to know, a gross motor skill from a fine motor skill from a hole in the wall.
Right.
So do they get some coaching as to how to?
They do. They can do it together. They can, a lot of times the teacher will actually observe the child and complete the questionnaire, and then talk to the parent to say, are your experiences any different than this? And sometimes they'll both do it together. So it just depends on what some of the parents' needs are. Sometimes families are in and out of the child care center so quickly that it's hard for them. We've actually have a tool right now that they can actually do it electronically if they want to. So it just kind of depends again on the family situation, on their provider relationship. But what we are encouraging families to do is to say to their provider, I want to be a part of this. I want to see how my child's developing here, whether there's a concern or not, because it's important to see where they are developmentally at all stages of care.
And then one of the challenges, so they fill it out and it comes in and it says, there may be some things that you want to look at, but no one's going to magically appear from the sky. Something needs to happen to go to that next place in order to get some intervention. What is that has to happen?
Depending on how many concerns are identified, the provider will then work with the family to make what's called a referral to the Child Find Project. And the Child Find Project is at the school district, and they're connected with the Early Steps Project and Fiddlers, which is the Florida Diagnostic Learning Resources program that's funded by the state of Florida, and I believe with federal funds as well. So, but that aside, there's a referral process. There's also activities that can be provided. The process, and I'm sure Donna will talk about it a little bit more, but it can take a while before further evaluation might be needed if there's a lot of concerns. And we certainly want that child to continue to be engaged in the child care program and to get activities that will help them move through their development to enhance the development in those areas of concerns.
One of the things, Lee, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I know that we've had a little problem. We're getting some of the screens in, we're getting some hits, and then the parent is not following up. Is that right? The parent, you said they get a referral, but they still have to do something.
They have to follow through on the referral when a phone call is made to them for an appointment, and even to sign the referral. Sometimes it's a scary thing, as you said. You know, folks aren't sure what's on the other side of that referral. They think a lot of times the child's going to grow out of this concern that they have. We all believe, though, at this point that it's important to really have the right kind of evaluations done by the specialists to know whether it's something a child will grow out of, but will they grow out of with what? And that's where the activities of intervention come in.
So I really want to bring Donna into the discussion, but I think at this point it's important to hear from a parent who has experienced it, and we're fortunate enough to have Audrey Evans, who's a family resource specialist at the Children's Diagnostic and Treatment Center and is also a parent. So she's been on both sides of this, and let's hear from her.
As a family resource specialist with Early Steps, I am a parent of a child that was in the program, and that's one of the requirements of our position. Also, I help to connect the families with different resources and help them navigate the Early Step system. I also meet them when they come to the clinic for their evaluations. We do different resource fairs. We're out in the community letting the families know that this is a free program available to them, free of charge, and that there is no qualifications. You just need to come in and have your child evaluated if you have a concern for a developmental delay. Some children are in daycares, and when they do it, the daycares do a screening. The screening may show up that there may be a tentative delay. So they ask the families to come in and have the evaluation with Early Steps. And that's how some families come in. Other families are directed to us through their pediatrician, and also families are directed to us through the NICU at the hospitals in Broward County. You shouldn't ignore any signs that there may be a delay or something different about your child. When the school notifies you, it's time to act and come in, give us a call, call Child Find, and then they will do the referral to Early Steps. Also, there are times when the pediatrician will suggest that you take the child in and have the evaluation done, and they will do a referral. If your child is born prematurely, at the NICU, at the hospitals, we will come to you and give you an invitation to the Early Steps to have the child evaluated. So we try to cover all the bases because early detection is so important. The Early Steps program is here for you. And once we detect that if there is a delay, then we're here to provide the services to your family free of charge. So that's an incentive for you to come out, because with my experience was that when they came to me in the NICU and told me that my child may have a delay, she was a little premature, I was like, okay, so you know what to do next. And when I came, they gave her an evaluation in 5 areas, and then they provided services for her. Now, she was in Early Steps until she turned 3, and then she went on to preschool and then to regular school. She's presently in college. And the good thing is that had I not come in when I did, she might have lost her sight, because one of her issues was vision, and she was losing her sight in one eye. But you don't see that, because the child looks at you and they smile with you. You know, you think everything is fine, but the evaluation allowed me to find out that these things were underlying factors were going on. So, and when you come in, it's so important for you to be part of the process. Early intervention, we work with the families. We want our families to know that you're part of the process. So when they say we're going to provide this service, that service, it's not just take the child to the doctor or the therapist and sit in the waiting room. You need to get involved and say, well, what are you doing with the child? What's happening? You know, what therapies are you doing? So when you're home with that baby, you can also continue working with the child. That has been my experience with raising my daughter, with learning the therapies and the motions that they were providing for her, and also making sure she made her appointments to the specialist, to the eye doctor, and getting the glasses that she needed, and seeking out the resources. I had a service coordinator in Early Steps that helped me to find the resources in the community that would pay for the special glasses that she needed. So we're here for you. We don't just say, oh, your child is sick, you know, do this. We work with the family. My experience with my foster children was that when these young ones were coming into my home, I was like, wow, there's something not right. You know, I wonder if the parent looked into it. But I was able to make a self-referral to Early Steps and have them evaluated. And I found out quite a few of them. I've fostered 13 children, and I would say 7 of them were in the Early Steps program and have gone on. Currently, I have 3 in the Early Steps program. Well, 2. One just graduated, and he had cerebral palsy. One, she's very tiny, so there may be some genetics going on. And the other one came to me on an apnea monitor, so he had breathing problems, and he came from the NICU. Some of the signs that parents can look for in their children to see if there's a need or if there's anything going on is that if you have a 1-year-old that's not speaking or not saying at least 50 words or more, that is a flag. That is a sign that maybe something is going on. If you have a child that has to do certain routines before they can go to the next step, that may be a sign. If you have a 6-month-old that's not rolling over or trying to push up or babbling, you know, every baby, cuckoo, blah, blah, blah. If they're not doing those things, then you should be concerned. And just have it, you know, it may be nothing, but you never know. And our program is free.